Hey, this is Mark Sparks from MTC Media, wrapping up George Mason's win over UMass today. Mason cruised to a 72-62 win. It certainly was not as close. I know you get that. It's not as close as the score indicated. This truly was not as close as the score indicated. Mason was up for around 20 for a lot of halves. UMass did make a run at the end when Mason struggled with the press, but still was a comfortable 10-point win. The Patriots were led by Ticket Gaines. He had 14 points with 8 rebounds. Deshaun Schwartz had 15 points, and Davon Cooper, who had a bunch of threes in the first half that kind of pushed things out a bit. He ended with 12. Joshua Duro spent a lot of this game in foul trouble. He just finished with 6 points and 3 rebounds. But if you're a George Mason fan, first of all, any conference win on the road is a good win. I don't care who's it against. So the conference win today against UMass certainly was a good win, moving them to 4-1 in the conference, 11-7 overall. George Mason showed some things that we hadn't seen in a while. That offense really got going in the first half. They ended up shooting 51% for the game, 43.5% from 3. And you can talk about the free throws, 10 for 20, 50%. Certainly not something that Kim English would want. But he did speak after the game about how that defense traveled. They held UMass to 31.7% shooting on their home floor. On their home floor, 9 for 28 from them. That certainly hurt them. Sorry, it looked like we had a little bounce out, bounce in there with the connection. I'm in my basement, so we might have had a little bit that we lost there. But UMass was without Fernandez today and Dominguez, 2 guys that certainly would help the team, especially Fernandez with his scoring. But that does not take away from George Mason getting the job done on the road. One of the things I like was Ticket Gaines, and I asked Coach English about it. His patience on offense. He lets the ball find him. He's 2-3 passes away. It swings to him. He always gets the ball in space. For you young guys and you young coaches, when one of your top players can be offensively dynamic, it does not mean that the ball always has to be in their hands. As you see with Gaines, the ball gets to him in the right spot where he can have his talent take over, whether it's the three-pointer, whether it's getting to the basket, and he does try to get on the offensive boards. Now, George Mason did get some contributions today from their bench. Otis Frazier came in, had 6 points in the first half. He finished with 6. But in the first half, that 6-point, 2-rebound game when he comes off of the bench was a great contribution. And, of course, with Oduro and foul trouble for most of the game, you saw some Malik Henry development. He came in. He only played 14 minutes, but his 14 minutes were productive. 3 for 4 from the floor. I really loved in the second half that little shoulder shake back to the right hand jump hook where he was fouled. He ended up missing free throw, but whether he was fouled, quality move by Henry, and you're seeing that he's growing. But it again, guys like Schwartz, guys like Ticket, they kind of carried the day. Cooper, your veterans on the road, because this is his first road game for George Mason in a while. They just came from a 3-game homestand. Those veterans kind of set the tone, and then everyone came up behind it. Now, George Mason only had 3 turnovers in the first half. They had 6 in the second half. I didn't want to be the guy to rain on coach's parade by asking, like, hey, what was up with the turnovers in the second half, especially when you knew they were going to press because you had a big lead. And so you knew it was coming. And that's where a lot of the turnovers happened. George Mason just started throwing the ball all over the place. Didn't understand that. But again, any road win is a good road win. If you look at the A10 conference standings, has not been updated yet. Shame on you, A10 website, because it should be updated by now. Oh, it is. I hit refresh. They did. They said, Marcus, slow your roll. Second place with a 4-1 conference record. Now, you know, Mason does have a lot of games to make up. Davidson is 7-1, leads conference. VCU and Dayton are right behind them with 6-2 records. Mason has not seen Davidson or VCU. They do own a home win against Dayton. And then right behind that, St. Louis, who Mason has upcoming. And the Bonnies, they're 5-2. Bonnies are 4-2. So again, we're early in the conference season, but George Mason playing up in that top 4, taking care of business. The only loss in the conference was the first conference game where they lost by a point to George Washington on the road. They gave away a lead in that game. That was certainly a winnable game for them. But they have been taking care of business at home, took care of business on the road today. Again, I know a lot of people might not have seen it, especially once the NFL football game came on. You know, we are in the era of technology, so you could have been streaming both. I streamed the football game while watching the George Mason game. But like I said, great win by George Mason, 72-62 over UMass at UMass, and again moves them to 4-1 in the conference. 11-7 overall. Kim English doing a great job in his first season. So again, big week. You know George Mason is going to have some games piled on to each other because they are going to have to make up games as I pull up their schedule. Up next this week, they will have St. Louis at home, travel to LaSalle on the 5th, and then going into the next week on the 7th, going to Richmond, and with Richmond coming back on the 9th, but looks like almost like a home and home from an NBA perspective. So these next few games definitely where you're facing St. Louis, traditional power in the Atlantic 10, very, very good this year. Back-to-back games against a very veteran Richmond team with LaSalle kind of sandwiched in between. Another one of those road games where you don't want to lose sight of coming off of a game against St. Louis, which I know they're going to be really focused and ready for. And then you have the back-to-back Richmond games where LaSalle kind of slipped in between. So that's where George Mason will need to keep their composure. But again, great job of roster building, bringing in the transfers, because the veteran presence is really, really important. It allows for the other guys who have not been in that position to kind of learn how to react, how to play and stay connected during those time periods with all the ebbs and flows of the schedule, especially in the COVID era, or the seasons impacted by COVID. So again, great to see George Mason with another win. For those interested, George Washington also got a win. Theirs was at home today over Fordham. So the Georges both win on the same day. Great job taking care of business on the road by the Patriots. So I'm going to let everyone get back to their Kansas City Chiefs game. I know Chiefs Bengals on right now, but George Mason 72-62 over UMass, and now they stand in second place in the Atlantic 10. This is Marcus Washington from MTC Media.